Senator for South Australia, the Liberal Party's Alex Antic. Good to have you back with us on Flow.
Thanks, Ricky. Good to be with you.
Now, I know last time we spoke a couple of weeks ago, we talked about nuclear. There's been a bit of movement on that front, including some comments from Premier Stephen Marshall about developing a nuclear defence industry here in South Australia.
Yeah, that's right. And it's become topical, of course, because of the sub-deal and the strategic partnership with the UK and the US. So this topic of, the skill sets that are needed, which has always been a bit of an issue, I suppose, with any defence build, has become a really live one because, of course, these submarines are going to have, nuclear engines, nuclear capacity. So we are going to need nuclear technicians and people that understand this industry, in some capacity in order to be able to service them and look after them and regulate them and all those sorts of things. So it's become a new focus point, and the Premier's pointed out that we just, at this stage, don't have those skills here, which, in my mind, is really yet another reason why we should be looking at, a broader picture about a nuclear industry in this country, a bigger discussion, because without the skills, you limit yourself with these future options, and we're seeing that play out now with the subs, I guess.
Yeah, and let's be clear, when you talk about a broader picture, you're saying we need an energy industry developing here?
Yeah, look, I think it makes perfect sense. I've been a long time advocate for exploring it. Ultimately, for where I sit, it's an economic decision more than anything else. We've seen proof over the years that nuclear power, civil nuclear industries are now very, very safe, and they're quite different to the sorts of things we saw in Chernobyl and Fukushima, particularly with the advent of small modular reactors, which are coming online. They're not quite there yet, and probably arguably not even 100% cost effective yet. But, the point is that we're looking clearly at sections of the community that are interested in emissions and interested in climate change and those sorts of things. This industry targets that beautifully, and it's perfectly safe. The issue from a sort of a government point of view, really, in my view, is getting out of the way legislatively, repealing the prohibitions in the Environment Protection Biodiversity Act, which stand in the way of even having a conversation about it. And ultimately, if government gets out of the way, then you're left in a position where the market can determine whether or not it's economically viable.
Speaking of small modular reactors, the British government have just done a deal with Rolls-Royce. I think they're sort of contributing $250 million towards them developing small modular reactors as part of their net zero response by early 2030s. So if there's only 4 words in the way, why doesn't someone move a bill to get rid of them?
Well, what do they say? Politics, politics, politics. Another 4 words or 3 words in this case. I don't see it as being as big an issue perhaps as others do. This is increasingly, I think, a widely accepted view that we should be doing this, but I think there's a view out there that it'll weaponise the voices of a small minority that want to continue to run a scare campaign on nuclear. And, for those that are, forging through into the net zero conversation, it's all about renewables, but we know that they just can't hold the whole grid. We need baseload power. So the problem, I guess, is moving forward to get this conversation out there and making people more and more aware that this is really a very safe, very secure and very sensible option. Probably, as we go on, I think almost inevitable.
Well, Rebecca Knoll from the Chamber of Mines and Energy, they certainly seem to think it's a safe direction to be moving in. I think Daniel Walton, head of the Australian Workers' Union, his union supports moving in this direction. So why is moving a private member's bill or just knocking those words out difficult that no one will move in that direction in the Parliament?
Well, I guess it's got to have the support. At this stage, it doesn't seem as though there's bipartisan support for it. My view is that there are a significant majority, I think, of members of my side of Parliament, the coalition side, that would support it. But it's not a policy position which is on the government's radar at the moment. Certainly, the technology roadmap doesn't rule nuclear out, but there's no particular, plan to remove that prohibition at this stage. And I don't know that it would be ultimately supported all the way through. So, look, the reality here is we're a nation that has something like 1/3 of the world's uranium suppliers, and we're one of the biggest producers of it. We've got it here. Being part of that nuclear fuel cycle just makes sense. And I think at some stage, when we've got more support across both sides of Parliament, it's inevitable.
But on that bipartisan front, you got John Howard with the GST, for instance, said, well, I know the other side doesn't agree, but I think it's what the nation needs to do. And he put it out there in an election and got elected. If this is where net zero, you got US and France, for instance, between them 150 new nuclear plants being committed to help address the net zero debate. They know that's where things will go because hydrogen's still speculative. Isn't this a leadership moment for the Prime Minister?
Well, look, I think the decision's been made to sort of continue that conversation at the moment. I mean, you might remember the House committee back, I think it was December 2019, which was commissioned, Prime Minister commissioned it, and I don't think he was the Mining and Energy Minister at the time, Keith Pitt, but he was the chair of the committee, and the committee ultimately found that we still needed to get the community on board to sort of remove some of the apprehension of all that, and that's where the policy settings lay. So, look, there isn't a plan at this stage to pull the trigger on it and do it. Look, from where I sit, I think it's less contentious than people think, and I'd be inclined to forge straight through and do it. But politics is numbers, and politics is the art of the possible, I think they say. And at this stage, it's just not on the roadmap.
All right, well, we've sort of at least moving in the direction where we're going to have nuclear submarines under the AUKUS deal, and there's some, I guess, jobs that come out of that. And I think those figures you were giving, South Australia's got 80% of the nation's uranium, so your own home state stands to benefit significantly if we have a ramped up uranium usage in Australia. Absolutely, it certainly does. And look, reflecting back on the 2016 Royal Commission, the Scarce Royal Commission, I mean, some of the numbers that were floating around about the possibilities this industry provides for South Australia, the numbers and the possibility of a sovereign wealth fund. And I think I was told, I didn't hear it, but I was told that evidence was given to the committee that if we wanted, South Australians could be devoid of taxation burdens at all with the money this would bring in. So obviously that's not going to happen, but that's the kind of revenue stream we're looking at if we grasp it. And, as I say, I'll keep pushing in that direction, keep talking to those who need to talk to about it, because I think it's an absolute winner. Now, Senator, if people have got questions for you, there is an opportunity out at Bordertown tonight, I believe. Yeah, indeed. We're taking a bit of a Q&A session out at Bordertown, talking to people about, the sorts of things that are on their minds and hearts, I guess, in politics. Some of the values-based propositions that are out there, and just some of the economic things in advance of the coming sort of 6 months or so. So it'll be a good opportunity for people to get along and have a say. All right, I'll provide some more details about that shortly for listeners. Thanks, Senator Alex Antic, for being with us today. Much appreciated. Thanks, Ricky. Great to be with you.